Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We are on the last day of today's series talking about transforming your perspective this week. And today's theme is your body believes what you're saying, right? It believes what you're saying. So let's say something different. Um so again, the title as you see is say something new. Your body is listening. Today, we're talking about energy and emotions, all right? Because your body actually believes what you keep saying, okay? And you guys know that I'm big on words. I'm big on words. Listen, your nervous system doesn't know the difference between truth and repetition, all right? And I have to say this because I was listening to this in the mornings when I'm working out or stretching or whatever. I try to listen to some type of ebook or something on some type of self-help improvement anyway. But I was listening this morning, um and I heard somebody say, you are not your memory, you are your instructions. I thought that was so powerful, and I think that that plays well into what we're talking about today. Because listen, your nervous system doesn't know the difference between truth and repetition. And a lot of us are just allowing memory to guide us. And that is not the divinity of you. The divinity of you, the the ability, and when I'm saying divinity, again, let me define divinity because I haven't defined it for you guys in a long time. Divinity means that your ability to transcend, right, any challenge. That is your divine nature. Okay. So this is not about religion or anything like that. It's your divinity in itself is your ability to transcend any challenge, overcome anything, right? So your divinity itself is not based on memory, it's based on instruction. That's why biblically it talks about discipline, and it's kind of like giving rules and things like that, because a big part of who we are is instruction, right? So as the mind is being instructed, right, then such is the behaviors, then the behaviors will come. but if you're not instructing your mind by giving it words, language, direction, right? If you're not doing that, then guess what? It's just going off memory. So I thought this was so profound when it said you are not your memory, you are your instruction. The body is going to store memory, but you have the ability to overcome that by what? By what you instruct your mind to think. Because again, your nervous system doesn't know the difference between truth and repetition. So if you keep saying I'm not enough, right? If you keep saying it'll always end like this, or nothing good never happens to me, guess what? Your body will start to believe it. All right. But today we're going to say something new to the body. I'm so excited about today's conversation as we wrap up this week. And we know this week is what? Transforming your perception. We're talking about stories this month, right? This is where season 2 of Project Life. This time is personal, and really empowering you to, one, last week, see the patterns. Two, transform your perspective. That's this week, right? And we're wrapping up with the E, energy and emotion, because energy and emotion, that's the E in life. But truly, energy is like emotion is energy and motion. And what we start to tell ourselves when we have these emotional bouts really start to imprint our mind. So today, we're going to say something different, and we're going to bring some emotion in so we can start imprinting ourselves with a different version of us. Again, we are not living from memory. We are, you are uh, living from your instruction. And so today, I think that it's just going to be very mindful, or very important for you to start to instruct your life. All right. You've been given the instruction. And I think that's the other part. And that's what's coming up in my spirit. I think we're waiting for instruction. We're waiting from instruction from our bosses. We're waiting from instructions from our friends, right? We're waiting to be instructed, but you have been given the instruction, right? I don't know, be faithful, right? Faith, right? Have faith. You have been given the instruction to believe, right? You have been given so many instructions, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I really want to do that. And you're waiting for some type of clarity or some type of, I don't know, gap to open up, but that's not going to happen, right? Until you start to move and instruct differently. All right. So on Project Life Season 2, we're emotionally rescripting with the Stop It Now affirmation. So I have some affirmations for you today to really help you shift your energy, regulate your emotions, and reclaim your identity. Listen, your words shape your body holds your belief. So let's tell the truth, or let's start telling ourselves the truth, right? On purpose. You are not your circumstances, you are not your conditions, you are not the experiences that you had. Those are things that you went through. Okay. I remember being a therapist and working with individuals, and one of the things that I started to work with individuals who had autism, and I would have to sometimes gently tell people, you know, because it was like, well, I have autism. He's autistic. And I was like, no, it's not autistic. It's an individual who has autism, right? Because you are not the sum of that whole thing. You are not depressed, right? You are a person who is experiencing some depression, right? Because you are more than just this. Even when we start to talk about titles like father, wife, mother, right? Sometimes we can get so engulfed by a title, right? And start to really tie ourselves to this label or this title. And it's like, but you're so much more than that, right? You're so much more than a mother. You're so much more than a wife. You're so much more than a husband. You're so much more than a friend, right? You're so much more. You have so much more to offer. And that's not to judge you or anything like that. But I do think that, again, what I said yesterday, when you can step into the now, the what now, right? Then we can change with the seasons. Because here's the thing about it. I'm a parent right now. I have a 24-year-old, 20-year-old, and a 16-year-old. My 16-year-old is in 11th grade, right? The dynamics of what they needed from me, those three um, young men, right? When they were 5 and 6 and 7, is totally different now, right? And if I don't know how to see myself beyond a mother, right, then I may get stuck. And a lot of people have what's called emptiness and things like that. So we're so much more than these titles. So today I'm going to introduce some stopping out affirmations, right? Because again, your words really shape your body and your body holds your belief. All right. So here's one of your prompts for today. What have I been repeating that my body has mistaken for truth? What words, what language, what behaviors, right? What have I been repeating that my body has mistaken for truth? Okay. So that's a prompt. And here's your powerful question behind that prompt. What have I been saying to myself that sounds familiar but feels like a lie? Right? Are you telling yourself like, this is just who I am? Like, so I'm gonna be honest, because y'all know I talk about the whole domesticated thing all the time, right? The whole I'm just not domesticated, right? Like that's just not who I am. But what I realized is that was something that I had been telling myself, but there is a desire, like it's somewhat of a lie. Like it's not that I don't want to all the way be domesticated. I think that I know that I said that out of protection, because it was this expectation that I'm supposed to be the person to clean up the kitchen, or I'm supposed to be the person that cleaned the house up. So I told myself like I'm not domesticated, when the fact of the matter is that I love decorating. If you know me, if you come to my office, I love decorating. If you know me, like I know I love to cook, right? So there is this domesticated part of me, but that I'm not domesticated. It's one of those things that is very familiar to me. It's my safe space, right? But it could be a lie, because sometimes it depends on the gentleman that I'm dating, right? Because some gentlemen I date, listen, you ain't got to pick up a thing. You hear me? I'm gonna fix your plate, and I'm so domesticated. And some, guys that I date is just like, can you bring my plate, right? So again, it's not it's a gentle lie that I tell myself. It's a rationalization I tell myself. That's a defense mechanism. I'm very aware of it, right? But it's a lie. So I got to ask you, what have you been saying to yourself that sounds familiar, right, but feels like a lie? That was a little vulnerable for me. Okay, so listen, the body listens, the mind remembers, and the heart absorbs. All right, so every word you say, even in passing, right, gets stored somewhere. And that's why we have to be mindful of, the words we say. And I know, like, we'll say some stuff and even, get corrected. It's like, I was just playing. It's like, don't play like that. You know what I mean? Because that's a currency. That's an investment in either, when I hear people say, like, oh, I'm so stupid. And I'm like, don't say that. And it's like, girl, I'm just saying, I know I'm not really stupid. But it's like, don't say it though, right? Because every time you say it, whether you're jokingly saying it or not, the mind does it. It's like non-biased. It's not like, oh, she's joking with that one. So we don't have to deposit that into that belief system. Like every time you say it, it's tilting the scale. All right. So we want to be mindful of what we say because the body is always listening. More importantly, it's not just listening to what you say, it's listening, right? And this is a part that I feel like we don't understand. Your body is non-biased. Okay. So if you're having a conversation and the person around you is talking in a negative way or whatever, guess what? Your mind is not like, oh, that's Sally saying that. That's not me saying that. It is filtering all of the information, all of the words that you give it. Okay. I'm not saying be perfect because, I still listen to some music that is ratchet, right? I still watch shows that, have some language that is not always beneficial to my higher self. Okay. So I'm not saying that, but I'm very aware that, watching this or listening to this is tilting the scale, right? One of the artists that I love for sure is oh, what's her name? It just came in my mind. So she had her last record and I loved it. Oh, what is her name? I'll give it to you. But so anyway, but every one of her songs, honey, it's like all the way against what I feel as a woman, right? It speaks to, you know, the more darker sides of me, right? I'm aware of that when I'm listening to her music, right? But I have to balance that. So I'm making sure that I'm doing affirmations after that and things like that so that I'm tipping the scale. So I want you to know that your language is not just, your body is not just listening to your words, it's listening to your environment, right? And it's listening to the songs that you listen to and to the shows that you watch, all right? All right. And it memorizes that. And then the heart absorbs that. So then you're wondering, even on your healing journey, if you don't create that balance and then you don't establish new laws, right? Then, and you're always in environments that the language is, or the energy and the emotion is not in alignment with who you're becoming. And you're wondering, like, why is this so tough? Because you haven't taken a wheel, because you haven't giving your body instruction of what to do, how to be, and how to show up. All right. So again, the body listens, the mind memorizes, and the heart absorbs. And every word you say, even in passing, gets stored. So if you're always saying, I'm just tired, okay, it's always me, I can't take much more, right? If you notice you're saying that, guess what? Your body goes into survival mode again and again and again. But if you speak safety, if you start to speak truth, if you start to speak softly, right, and giving yourself permission based affirmations or affirming some spaces, the body will relax, your energy will start to return, and your emotions will start to regulate. All right. So, one of the things that I really have to catch myself saying is, I'm so tired, right? I'm so tired because I noticed that my body will follow. Now, I may say that I'm going to get some rest, or I'm so grateful that the rest I have, right? I'm trying to learn how to say that statement in the way that's more affirming. So it's not creating more tiredness or creating, yeah, more tiredness in me. And so being mindful of like those words, I'm tired of this, this always happened to me, right? We just want to be mindful of that type of language. All right. All right, why am I doing this session today? Because we don't talk enough about how your language is really affecting your body. I think that we have truly, as individuals, not stepped into our body, not stepped into our authority, and we literally glaze over the power of the tongue, right? And we will, like, I don't know, like, make it as if it's not powerful. Like, these words that you're saying about yourself and the people around you, it's not affecting yourself and the people around you. All right. So again, because we don't talk enough about the language and how it's affecting our body. And I just really want to teach you how to stop repeating what hurt you, right? And start reinforcing what can heal you. Because a lot of the language that you're using today is hurtful to you, right? A lot of the words that you're saying today, it's not other people saying this, it's your words that's hurtful to you. And so I really want to start shifting this so that you can start reinforcing, or using language that's more healing. All right, so my disclaimer for the day: this isn't about magic, it's biology, right? It's true, words alone don't fix everything, but they do shift everything, right? When paired with the right beliefs, when paired with the breath work, and when we pair it with embodiment. Okay, embodiment. All right, so again, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I want to welcome you back to Life Lessons with Dr. Sheila Little. I am Dr. Sheila Little. If you're new here, I'm a clinical therapist for the last 20 years, but now I serve as an emotional strategist. I say a life coach and an emotional business strategist, right? You're here at Life Lessons. Life Lessons is a part of Project Life. And Project Life is where we turn theory into practice, right? Where I really go through every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and provide you with these bite-sized recipes, BYTES, right? These bite-sized recipes to really help you shape your life, all right? To really help you shape your life. So good morning. Good morning. This is your time. No pressure, just your presence. Okay, no pressure, just your presence. So good morning, Miss Erica. Good morning, Deidre. Good morning, Dale. So Miss Erica said, especially songs and music, because it's repetitive and we repeat the words over and over and over again. Yes, and that's what I'm saying. Um, we don't understand. And you said, you hit it on the nose, Erica. She said, yes, I say this is who I am. I am all I say this is who I am all the time. And I think, I don't think, and let me say this, I think that it's so important that we just become aware. I think as our job as human beings is to stop trying to fix us. And the first stage is just to become aware, right? Become aware of the words that we're listening to. Become aware of how we're speaking to ourselves, right? Just become aware. And I think that we try to jump to fixing before we can even accept. Wow, these are the words that I've heard over and over and over again. One of my favorite songs when I was younger it was two, right? But one of them was like, I'm not your superwoman, right? So I'm not your superwoman. But like when I hear that song now, I just listen to the lyrics like, man, you sung that song over and over and over and over and over again, right? And there's some songs that are very sad and like, I don't know, like not even in alignment with the type of relationship that I want or how I want to feel as a woman, um in the relationships that I want, right? But I've listened to these songs over and over, and especially during a breakup, I've listened to those songs over and over and over again, not realizing that these songs is shaping, right, how my belief system, what I even believe about relationships, what I even believe about men, right? Now, it's not about going in and fixing that, because that song is imprinted in my brain. Like if it came on right now, I would know every lyric. So it's not about fixing it, but it is about becoming aware and instructing my brain that that's not me anymore. That's not what I believe, right? That's not my thoughts, right? And how I'm going to do that by listening to something different, right? By listening to something different. So Miss Keidra said, good morning. So good morning, Keidra. You're absolutely on point this morning. Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think our words have so much power, and we just don't we really don't take the time to think about it. I've been thinking about this artist in my mind, and it's not, and I keep wanting to say Jill Scott, but it's not Jill Scott. I'm gonna tell y'all who it is because it's the song Spit on It. Who sings that song? I bust the windows out your car. Okay, so she has that one, bust the windows out your car. What else she has? Who is that? That is the playlist. I can play her music, and I mean, her last album. I feel like it was a season. That was my shenanigans season, right? And I can listen to that, so listen to her and Cardi B, right? I just listen to them, and I just be like, but it's an aspect of me. Jasmine Sullivan, yes. So Jasmine Sullivan, right? So I'm listening to this music, and so I don't think it's about fixing that because, like I said, a lot of those words are downloaded in our system. But I do think it's about one, getting present enough to release it, right? Becoming aware of it. But it's not about fixing, it's just becoming aware of the language that we're using. So drop a word in the chat. Let me know, what have you been telling yourself? And is it helpful, right? Is it helpful to your healing, or does it make you want to hide, right? And if you don't want to drop that in the chat, just answer that question. But I do want you to drop in the chat, how are you feeling on this morning? I am feeling good this morning, feeling grateful, feeling fulfilled on this morning. I think that this is going to be a great conversation. But before we go into it, I know we're 20 minutes in, but let's do our body scan, right? Just kind of scanning down our heads, just getting present in our body. All right. Getting present in our body. So Keisha said Jasmine Sullivan will have you wanting to wreck a man's life. Yes, yes, honey. And then her last album will have you embracing all type of shenanigans, honey. Yep, I did it. I sure did. And I deserve to do it, right? And this is what music does. And so when we hear people, especially like more religious based people, who talk about like the language, Dale laughed. When we hear religious people talk about the language, and I think that I think that a lot of times people make things like woo woo, right? Like, oh, don't listen to that because demons gonna come through your computer, and like I get it in the religious context, right? Like the whole demons and all of that. But truly, if we can just stretch out the scary woo woo, I'm gonna shame you or scare you into submission. The truth of the matter is, it's just information that you're feeding your brain that later you're going to have to fix, right? Right. That's the most simplest, easiest, less fearful way to say that, right? But I think that when we're younger, or like sometimes what religion has this way of doing is like scaring you, and it makes you reject that a lot of times, right? It makes you want to reject that because it's like, listen, demons is not coming out my TV and coming out the music that I'm listening to. But it's not even so much that, more than it's the energy and emotion and the level of energy and emotion that's tied to the song that is imprinting in you subconsciously. All right. And again, a big part of it is just becoming aware of it and not trying to fix it, right? And then balancing it with music, with rituals, with affirmations that will tilt the scale back into your favor, right? That will instruct you into the way that you want to go. And I think that that is the issue, because especially in our culture, a lot of us are not listening to even a lot of the, and then I'm gonna get off of this, but even a lot of the um, church songs, gospel songs, if you listen to them, they're very heavy, right? They're very like, I'm a sinner. I don't really, trust myself, right? They're very heavy on like getting you riled up emotionally, caught up in like this shame victim, and the only person that can save me is you, God. But God already saved you. God already gave you what he gonna give you. God already planted the seed in you. At some point, you got to activate that. So even a lot of the songs that we deem safe, that's like religious songs, are not always like empowering, right? play to your shame. They have you crying in the floor. They'll have you in instead of that song being about that man that you broke up with, now it's about you and making you feel bad about this sin or this weight or this thing that you're carrying, and like it's never going to be over, and like, God, I'm just ready for you to come save me. And I'm just like, God already done what God gonna do, right? Right now it's time for you. He's passing up a time for you. And as you are activating and cultivating and moving, right, you will start to blossom and see the seed inside of you start to attract that and what you need to continue to grow. All right. That and what you need to continue to grow. So let's go into our body scan again. Feet on the floor, up our feet on the floor, scanning down, no judgment, just kind of scanning for our bodies today, bringing some compassion, some love into our bodies, right? Down our heads, activating our brain, our eyes, softening our ears. I hope that you guys heard what I said today softly, right? I know it probably pushed on and made you a little uncomfortable, and especially when I'm talking about religious songs. But the point of that is to say, listen to the lyric of the song, and if the lyric of the song is pressing on pain points, if the lyrics of the song is pressing on a victim mindset, or in pressing on you, even if it's in God's context, is taking your power away, then let's be mindful to make sure that when that song get done and it tapped into an emotion, that you now playing a song that is empowering you, that makes you feel like you and you the sugar honey iced tea. Okay, that is the balance of that. All right, and we are responsible for making sure that we are putting things in our life, doing things in our life that is establishing who we are. All right. That is our primary role in life, is to establish who we are. Okay. So let's continue to scan down our shoulders, our arms, our heart space, just bringing some love and some compassion into our heart space, down our spine. Okay. Activating all the organs in our body, right? Just giving some thanksgiving. On today is Thursday, Energy Audit Thursday, right? We're auditing our energy on this morning. Our thighs, right? Down our legs, our feet, right? And again, just making sure that there's a skin coming down, kind of like rain or light, or just something that's coming down, filling us up, rinsing all our cares away, right? And then just softly letting ourselves know, listen, I love you on today, right? I forgive you on today. I accept you on today, right? And I'm going to encourage you to tell yourself that every day. And maybe you need to tell yourself that 2 to 3 times today. All right. All right. But in this moment, I love you. I accept you and I thank you. All right. All right. So who is this session for? This session is for you if you consistently feel emotionally tired, even after rest. This is for you if you've been telling yourself, this is just who I am. This is for you if you want to believe better, but you keep repeating what broke you in the first place, or what you feel or deem broke you in the first place. All right. Remember, you're not broken, you're patterned. So I guess if you keep repeating the pattern, right, or what patterned you, and then if your internal script sounds more like survival than safety, then guess what? This lesson is for you. Okay. Our quote for this morning: your body believes what you keep saying. So let's start saying something new. All right. I love that movie, Something New, too. Did you guys watch that with Sanaa Lathan? That's a movie that I'm going to throw in every quarter, right? Because I do think that when she met this guy, it was like something new, right? He was a different race. He introduced her to colors, right? He kind of showed her a part of herself that she wouldn't have seen on her own, and that her environment didn't even allow her, right, to experience. And we have to have the courage to do that for ourselves, right? We have to allow people to come in, situations, and a lot of times in this context, language, so that we can start experiencing a different part of who we are. Okay. So we can start experiencing the life that we desire, right? And a big part of that's going to be in our language. All right. So listen, your nervous system is listening to every whisper, to every conversation, to every sigh, right? Every offhand comment, every insult, your nervous system is listening. So when you say things like, I'm always anxious, right? No, nobody ever shows up for me. I can't trust anybody. This is just how life is, right? Your body takes it as a command. Oh, is this how life is? Let me keep showing you this is how life is. Oh, you can't trust nobody? Let me keep putting people in your life that you can't trust, right? Right. And especially if you're not aware of that and you're not balancing that and you're not saying that's not who I am, right? I am a person that trusts when that comes up. And it's just kind of like having a simple conversation with yourself. So again, your body takes the command, it adjusts, it tenses, right? And it prepares you for more of the same, right? But when you interrupt the script, right? When you consciously interrupt the script with new healing truths, right? And the truth is, you can't trust people. I hope that you don't think that you're the only person in this world who can be trusted. If Because even saying like you can't trust nobody or nobody's not like me, guess what? That's a superiority complex. That's more coming from your ego than it is coming from your divinity, right? That's your ego trying to separate you and not keep you connected. Divinity is that we are all connected, right? We are all connected in some way, shape, or form. And because we're all connected, then I need to try to find some compassion for you, right? The ego wants to separate you, right? So you can't trust nobody. So you're the only person that God created that can be trusted. You're the only person that God created that is honest. You're the only person that God created that, that does things perfectly, right? And this is why we have to have compassion for other people, and even listen to the things that we say, because the idea that nobody shows up for you is a lie. It's people showing up for you every day. But guess what? It's not the people you want to be showing up for you, right? It's somebody that did something for you this week that you didn't even think they would do. They probably waved, they probably gave you a high, they probably, paid for your coffee. I don't know. They did something for you, right? Right. But it wasn't the person that you wanted to do it for you. And so then you will fall into nobody ever helps me. And it's not that nobody's ever helping you. Maybe your mom's helping you, maybe your dad's helping you, your siblings helping you, but you may want your mate to help you and your mate's not helping you. And so now you do this generalization that nobody helps me. And it's just like, no, that one person is not helping you, but you're getting the help because the bill got paid, the gas got in your car, the kids got picked up, the help that you needed came, but your language is not even validating or affirming and establishing the truth, which is you are supported. All right. All right. So again, your body takes commands, it adjusts, it tenses, and it prepares for more of the same. But when you interrupt the script, all right, with the new one, healing starts, right? And you start to activate safety. And it is your responsibility to establish this truth. That's why it's good to make sure that you are more not looking at the messenger, but you're looking at the message and you're not seeing who's doing the thing that you want to be done more than you're paying attention to the thing that's getting done. So in this case, I'm going to go back to the statement, nobody ever shows up for me. Maybe you needed some gas money. Maybe you needed the kids picked up. Maybe you needed something, right? And you may have called somebody that let you down. But then on the back end, your friend called and was like, oh, you know what? Something happened. I'm gonna go pick the kids up for you. Where you want me to drop them off at? The problem got solved. In this case, the problem got solved. But guess what you're talking about? You call your friend and you like, yeah, I called her earlier and she couldn't even pick up the kids for me. I called her. You're not even in agreement with God, who said that everything is working for your good, that your prayers are being answered. You're not even validating that with the power of your words and saying, thank you, God. Right? You're using your words to speak about what you feel like has not happened when the thing you wanted has happened. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Put a heart in the chat. All right. So that's why on today we're walking through the Stop It Now affirmations to really rescript how you speak and how you feel and how you show up in life. All right. Listen, I coached a woman before and she said, I've always been the strong one. Right. I've always been a strong one. I don't have time to really fall apart. Everybody is depending on me. But her body was falling apart, right? So she had chronic fatigue. She was always tired. She had migraines. She was having anxiety, right? And when we changed her script, right, to I deserve softness too, I deserve to rest, I deserve to be cared for. When we start to introduce this new language, guess what? Her nervous system began to unwind, and she didn't lose strength. Guess what? She started to gain safety and trust, and then she started to delegate, right? And she started to ask for help, and she started to feel more supported. And it happened because she changed her language, you guys. Listen, I had another client who used to tell herself, I'll never get this right. I'll never get it right, right? Every mistake confirmed that too. So every time she didn't get it right, now mind you, she was getting it right 10 times, but the 11th time she didn't get it right, went back to, I never get it right, right? It became a self-fulfilling prophecy for her, right? So when we started to replace I never get it right with um I'll learn and grow into that, or that's a space that I'm learning, or this is something that I have to adjust to understand, right? So when we started to create spaces when she found herself failing, like, oh, this is a learning curve for me, right? What that did was the same situation, but the new script basically changed her energy and how she approached those problems. All right. And this is how language truly liberates you. So I want to do our heart check in. I want to do our heart check in. And I want you to pause, right? And really say, what phrase or belief have I been repeating that no longer serves me? Right? What phrase or belief? And I'm going to challenge you on today. I want you to say, instead of saying I want you to say you. So I want you to say, as you're talking, like you're talking to yourself, right? What phrase or belief have you been, right, repeating that no longer serves you? When we take I and we switch it to you, even when we're speaking to ourselves, what that automatically does is it triggers the mind to go into answer mode, right? Because it's as if I'm asking you the question, hey, so tell me this, what phrase of belief have you been repeating, right? And then you're like, oh, what phrase, but when you say it to yourself, a lot of times, especially when you're in survival mode, you get defensive, and a lot of times you start to intellectualize the question, right? And so it's not really coming from an honest space. All right, so just ask yourself, what phrase or belief have you been repeating, right, that no longer serves you? And then where did you learn that from? All right, and what would you say instead? Right? If you believe that you were safe to speak kindly to yourself, right? So what would you say? What would you say instead if you believe that it was safe to speak kindly to yourself? All right. So your journal prompt in this heart check-in is, if I spoke to myself like I was worthy, I would say dot dot dot. All right. I would say dot 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 dot. So here's 5 things I need you to know for this heart space moment, that your body has been repeating what your mouth keeps saying. That's simply put. If you saying, listen, there's no good man out there, and you can't trust man, if you're saying that all women are gold diggers, right? If you're saying that, no women is like your grandmama and women have changed, this generation of women is different than the old generation of women. If you're saying that men are not mature, like, I am just letting you know that what you're repeating, that what your body is repeating in its experiences, in its exchanges with people, in its relationships, is what your mind keeps saying, what your mouth keeps saying. All right. Every time you say, I'm tired, I can't, I'm too much, I'm not enough, right? Every time you say that, your nervous system is storing it as, guess what? Instruction. All right. Not just an expression. It's an instruction. So your body doesn't filter sarcasm or or even humor. It absorbs it. All right. And it builds your identity around it, because your words is instructing your mind. Your words is instructing your emotions. Your words is instructing your life. And your words is what's allowing your nervous system to feel like it can be safe and social, Like it has to go to a fight, fight, or freeze, or if it has to emotionally disconnect. Listen, again, your body doesn't filter out sarcasm. The way, and this is why you feel exhausted even after you rested, because your internal language has kept you on alert, right? So again, this ain't just words that's coming out your mouth in a sense of all the time. It is words that you speak, but it's also the words that you speak because you haven't taken time to really think about the thoughts come in and you just say it, right? And you're taking these thoughts as your own. Okay. All right. Number two, you can't feel safe in a body that only hears criticism. This is huge, right? So if your body if your body hears you're failing, you're behind, you're broken, and this is why I really want to get off that whole thing like you broken. You are not broken. You're patterned. All right. Or that you're this sinner who can't, who need to repent, or you're just not like, no, that language is not helping you to feel safe, to grow into everything that God created you to be. All right. Okay. So if your body keeps hearing this, guess what? It's not going to relax. All right. So how can it breathe? How can it rest? And how can it heal if criticism is always at the forefront? Listen, criticism trains your nervous system to anticipate attack, even when you're alone. Even when you're alone. I'm gonna tell you. So I've been meditating now for maybe like 7 or 8 years, but my default body mode is still. I have to like when I'm sitting at my desk. I have to like have a timer that goes off, so I'm feeling my body because my body is like this at my desk, like I'm tight, and I have like a reminder that's like breathe, and then it's like and I'm constantly like because I had, got so many whoopings or I got told so much that my body can just stay in this very tense state, right? Even though the 46-year-old me feels very safe, my body is still sometimes in survival. So I have to remind myself, like, oh, and I have timers on my phone that's like, it'll go off and be like, I love you, Sheila. You know what I mean? You're doing amazing, right? Just as reminders to me to breathe, right? To breathe, all right? So it's just so important because you can't feel safe in a body that hears criticism, right? So you want to start to change the language. So even in the moments of stillness, if your body is listening to criticism, it will start to brace itself. All right. So the shift starts when your language becomes safe. Okay, when your language becomes safe and not a war zone. All right. Number three, you are not, and sometimes we can say this gently now. You guys hear my tone. My tone is very soft. And I used to date a person that says, your tone is very soft, but your words, sometimes can cut. And I had to be mindful of like, because at that point I wasn't screaming, but sometimes I would still say stuff that was not, you know, that wasn't taken into consideration, both of us, right? It was an emotional response. And so I'm in this situation not always talking about tone either. Sometimes we can just be like, oh, just so stupid, right? And it's like, you didn't say that harshly, right? You said it in the style, like, oh, I never get it right, right? So you're not saying it in this harsh tone or this judgmental way, but you're saying it in a way that's reinforcing a belief that's not in alignment with who you are trying to become. All right. Number three, you are not being dramatic. You're being honest. So how many times have you silenced what you feel because someone made you feel like your emotion was too much? All right. And now, even so, somebody made you feel like your emotion was too much. And now, even when your truth rises, right, your first instinct is to what? To press it down, to swallow it. But your emotions are never the problem. They're not the problem. Suppressing them is what the problem is, right? When we suppress our emotions, that's when we don't allow it to move through us. And that is what's exhausting us. Again, it's like having these apps on in our phone, having the computer on, having everything on, and wondering like why your consumer's bill is like $350 because you got everything on, but you're not using anything. That is a good example of how not allowing emotions to move through you. So you got all of this open emotion inside of you, right? That's in a sense you suppressed, and it's still pulling and draining on your energy. So you're wondering, like, I didn't do much today, but I'm just so tired. Yeah, because your nervous system is working, right? It's working. Number 4, what you say over yourself actually shapes what you allow for yourself. This is so important. And learning what to say over ourselves is a learning curve. Again, just becoming aware of the words that we use when we speak to ourselves. It's not to judge you or anything like that, but it's about becoming aware. Because if you're saying to yourself that you're lazy, guess what? You will sabotage your rest. If you're saying that you're broken, you will settle for dysfunction unknowingly. Okay. If you're telling yourself that you're not enough, guess what? You will start to seek validation, or you will start to chase validation because you just feel like you're not enough, right? So your self-talk doesn't just narrate your life, it actually starts to cultivate the decisions that you make. All right. Now, I want you to think about what's coming up in my spirit is what is that, like a time or hourglass that has a sand in it, right? So you have all this sand up here, and then it's like this little bitty hole, and then it's like grains of sand that's coming down, right? So when we go to transform our life, I want you to think about the hourglass. All right. So you have it tilted one way, right? So it's this way. So all of the sand is in the bottom, right? And it's empty at the top. And as you go to transform your life, you switch it over. Boom. And what's happening is these little grains of sand is slowly filling up the new you. Okay. And that is why it's so patient, because you're transmuting all of this experience up here that used to be your foundation. Now you're moving that energy and you're transmuting it. And so now it has, in a sense, come down. All right. And it's coming down through a very narrow space. Right. And so it's not going to happen all at once, right? It's going to take time because you're transforming your life. So you're moving energy. You're taking this dormant, suppressed energy. You're not getting new energy, you guys. What you're doing is you're taking this old energy and this old emotion and you're activating it. Okay, you're transmuting it, because energy is never lost or stolen, it's only transformed. So all of the anger that you have, you transmute that anger into love. All of the sadness that you have, you're transmuting that sadness into happiness or acceptance, right? So we're not getting new energy. Okay. And in the process of transmutation of energy, then we start to feel the expansion, or we start to feel lighter, because contracting emotions, anger, sadness, depression, it just feels heavier than happiness, than love, right? But when we start to transmute it, we actually expand our capacity because the energy is lighter. Okay, does that make sense? If that makes sense, put a heart in the chat for me. So again, so as we are shaping our life, as we are changing our narrative, as we are healing our life, I want you to think about it as that hourglass. Like each day is like a grain of sand that's coming down, that's building this new foundation. And eventually you will get full of these behaviors, because you're instructing that little hole is the instruction. Like, I need you to go here. I need you to do this. um, I believe this about me. I want this, right? So you're using your words to, in a sense, move that energy, right? I am powerful. I am amazing. I am lovable, right? And you're instructing that energy on what to do as it's being transmuted. All right. And then number 5, God gives you language, not just not just to describe, but to create. Okay. So God gives you language, not just to describe, but to create. Joel 3:10 says, let the weak say, I am strong. That is our biblical wisdom today. Not because you're lying, but because you're rehearsing truth before it becomes the feel be, not because you're rehearsing truth, but because it becomes felt reality, right? So God is not asking you to fake it, but He is asking you to speak it into faith, right? So let the weak say, I am strong. All right, and we're going to talk about that a lot in a minute. So here's some affirmations that I want you to write down. Listen, I am safe in my body. All right. I am safe in my body. So repeat after me. I'm safe in my body. I am no longer performing for worthiness. All right. I am living to love. I am learning to live, not just survive. All right. I am not what they called me. I am not what they called me. I hear you. Mhm. I don't need to earn softness. Okay. This is for men and women. I don't need to earn softness. I return what was never mine to carry. Okay. I am worthy of being seen without shrinking. And then I no longer rehearse shame, and I am becoming who I always was allowed to be. I'm going to say that one more time. I am becoming who I was always allowed to be. All right. Listen, saying affirmations while breathing deeply, right, really strengthens the impact of your nervous system and really reduces your stress. So, as you say affirmations, whatever affirmation there is, make sure that you're breathing, all right, through that. Listen, again, your body holds what your mouth repeats. Why this matters is because unspoken trauma becomes embodied stress and speaking truth becomes healing energy. Because if some trauma or some words is stuck in your body, then the only way to release that is through truth, right? Through the truth of your words. Okay. The real value in knowing this is that affirmations align with identity, aligned with identity. Don't just sound good. Guess what? They feel like a homecoming. All right. When we can say things, and there's a lot of research out there that talks about affirmations just don't work on their own. Especially if you have shame, like affirmations are not a good thing to do. And I just say that affirmations are important, if anything else, because it gives you a different way to see yourself. Yesterday, I talked about the seat at the table. And if you've only heard language or saw life from, like I said, the right side of the table, an affirmation can show you the left side of the table, right? So where you're saying, I'm not enough, the affirmation can say, listen, you are beautifully and wonderfully made, right? And so when you tell yourself that enough, eventually you start looking for proof that you are beautifully and wonderfully made, right? But when you're saying I'm not enough, you're looking for proof of your not enoughness, right? So if anything, affirmations definitely change what you start to look for, and it gives you different language. And so I'm big on affirmations. So if you guys want the affirmation, make sure you go to sheetalittle.com/affirmations or sheetalittle.com. And at the top, you'll see the affirmation challenge. Do that affirmation challenge. It's a 30-day affirmation that you're going to get in your email every day for free. And again, this is my offer to you because it is just so important that we start to change our language. And when we start to change our language, our lens will change. What we start to see will change. We will start to instruct our life in a way where we can start experiencing the things that we desire. Now, with that being said, know that you're still dealing with life. So it's still going to be things that may not always feel good. But even with the right language, you can receive that differently. All right. So here's a testimony from a client. She said, I stopped repeating what hurt me, and my body finally started to relax. All right. And I don't know if you ever even had the opportunity to feel what it feels like to have a relaxed body, or if you've ever been in a situation where you've been in an environment where you didn't feel safe, or that, a work environment where you didn't feel safe, where you didn't feel like you could be you or that you could speak. And then you got into an environment where you felt safe enough to say how you feel and things like that. You feel that in your body. Okay. Listen, research shows that affirmations activate the brain's rewire center and increases self-worth and reduces physical effects of chronic stress. So affirmations are just so important. So today we're talking about energy and emotions. We're on Thursday, Energy Audit Thursday. Um, what I want to make sure that you know is these 10 essential truths about your energy and emotions. All right. These truths is how language, nervous system, regulation, and identity intimately connect with one another. One, your body stores what your mouth repeats. I said that earlier. So every time you say you're exhausted or you can't, your body internalizes that. It shows you exactly what you said. All right. Number two, self talk becomes self identity. So what you repeat becomes what you start to believe. Okay. And what was repeated to you. So when you were younger, you were told something, and now as you become an adult, you just repeated what you were told, and it's just not true. So start to do some different self-talk. All right. Number three, emotional regulation begins with emotional language. Listen, you cannot manage what you won't name. Saying I'm overwhelmed, honestly can bring uh saying I'm overwhelmed honestly can bring more peace than pretending that you're fine. I think it's so important that we acknowledge and become aware, and that's the awareness piece of the emotion that we're feeling so that it can move through us. If you haven't seen it already, I've shown it a couple of times. There's something called the emotional wheel. That is this. This emotional wheel has every emotion that you can feel. All right. Emotions are not there to be judged, right? They're there to move through us. All right. So if you can't, so emotional regulation begins with emotional language. So saying these emotions is a part of letting them move through you. You can't feel free if your language is rooted in fear. A big part of, and this is connected back to number three. So a big part of me not even acknowledging that the sadness that is going on in my body or the anger that I'm feeling is truly because I'm scared, right? I'm scared that if I name it, that in some way it's going to happen to me. When the reality of it is, it's happening to me, right? Me naming it is not making my sadness more sad or less sad or making my anger more angry or less angry. But somewhere in my mind, I feel like if I admit that I'm angry, then it's going to make me angrier. And it's like, no, you're angry. It's actually just going to bring attention to the anger so that we can release it. All right. So again, you can't feel free if your language is rooted in fear. If your words always anticipate rejection or failure, your body will stay in defense mode. All right. Number five, your nervous system responds to repetition, not just intention. This is so important because repetition builds reality. So intention matters in how you do things. And that's why I talk about making your intentions more rituals that you do, because it's the repeated behavior that's given the new instruction. All right. Number six, affirmations don't work if you don't believe them, but they do become believable when you practice it. That's what I was just saying, right? So it's so important that it's the ritual of saying it, it's the saying it over and over and over again, and it's the awareness of the resistance to the affirmation. So let me say this: if I don't feel like I'm enough, and then I'm saying an affirmation that I am enough, and I'm hearing some resistance on the inside, or I'm feeling some resistance, that is what I go to my therapist to talk about. You know, I'm saying this affirmation that I'm enough, but I just keep feeling this resistance in my body, and I want to know why is this resistance there, right? Because here's the thing: saying the affirmation is opening you up and inviting you into the resistance that's actually stopping that affirmation from being true. So that's why sometimes people find that affirmations are difficult. So even when I do the affirmation challenge, like, yeah, that just sounds real weird. Like even me saying that don't sound at all like it's true. It's because it's not true yet. But when you said the affirmation, we need to realize the reason why you're not experiencing that. You need to realize that the reason why you're not experiencing that is because when you said it, you were out of alignment. So even when you said it, it felt uncomfortable or unsafe for you. And that is what we need to talk about. Why is it not safe, or why is it uncomfortable for you to feel like you're enough? What belief inside of you is making you feel like you are not enough? So that we can handle that, so we can step into this affirmed space of you are enough. All right. If that makes sense, put a heart in the chat for me. Number seven, your tongue can trigger survival or safety. All right. Number eight, speaking the truth It's spiritual and biological. All right. So it's not just about mindset. It's about biology, right? Your words can shift your chemistry, your stress levels, and your inner alignment. Number nine, emotional energy increases when your body feels safe. Again, so when you feel safe, guess what? You're more likely to regulate. Your body feels safe. You're more likely to return to a safe energy. All right. And then last but not least, you can't rescript your entire nervous system. You can rescript your entire nervous system one word at a time. So change starts with new language, one truth, one phrase, and one I am at a time. All right. Listen, power doesn't come before movement. I know that we want it to, right? I know we want to feel powerful before we move, but that's not how that happens. So power doesn't come before movement. Power comes because of your movement. All right. You don't get oil before you press. You don't get the breakthrough before the boldness. And you don't get clarity before you commit. You move, you speak, you feel, you breathe, and then power and confidence will meet you on the way. All right. It will meet you on the way. So let's go into our biblical wisdom. All right. These verses don't just support this session. I love them because they actually embody what we are talking about today. All right. So again, Proverbs 18 and 21, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Okay. This is not poetic fluff. This is God really giving you the biology and spiritual instruction manual. Listen, the words that you speak, they feed your nervous system. All right. They don't just land in the air, they are rooted in your body. So when you say, I am anxious, your body prepares for the panic. All right. And when you start to say, I'm learning to feel safe, I'm learning to feel safe with myself. I'm learning to feel safe in relationships. I'm learning to feel safe by speaking my truth, right? When you just softly say that, guess what? Your body starts to soften. Oh, this is learning, and learning is safe. All right. Listen, God is saying, if you want life, speak it. All right. If you want life, speak it. If you want peace, practice it, and practice it through your words. All right. And that is just so important. We want some things that we're not even affirming before we get it. Again, I think it's just so important that we know that we are the establisher of it before we can see it. That is what faith is. I am moving as if this is true before I actually see the results of it being true. I'm planting this seed. I know it will become an apple tree. I don't see the apple tree yet, but I'm watering it. I'm, giving it sunlight because I know the apple tree will come. So I'm treating this seed as if it's already the apple tree that I'm going to get, even though I don't see it. And that's how we have to uh, treat the seeds that God has planted in us. I know that God has planted the seed of confidence in me. I know that God has planted the seed of love in me. I know that God has planted the seed of connection in me. And my words is what's watering those seeds. And even if I don't see it right now, I'm going to keep speaking as if it's so. And eventually, this seed will grow, and I will start to see the roots and the trunk, feel the roots of it in the trunk. And eventually the apple will come. The fruit of that will come, right? Eventually it will come. And then that is my harvest of that in which I spoke. All right. Neuroscience actually supports this by saying that science confirms that words are psychological triggers. So negative self-talk again activates the amygdala. So that's the fear center of the brain. Okay, that's your fear center of the brain. It releases cortisol, stress hormones, and triggers the fight, flight, or freeze responses. And guess what? Positive, grounded self talk actually stimulates the frontal cortex. What that does is increases clarity, builds confidence, and supports your decision making. And supports your decision making. So self talk is not harmless, it's hardware. It's new hardware that you're putting into your mind, right? Your words tell your body whether it's safe or whether it needs to shut down. All right. Your words are a big part of the experiences that you're having. So when Proverbs said that death and life is in the power of the tongue, it's not just a metaphor, you guys. It's actually neuroscience in motion. All right. Joel 3 and 10. This is your promise verse. Let the weak say, I am strong. All right. Listen, God is not asking you to lie. Okay. He's asking you to lead with the truth. All right. So even when your feelings haven't caught up yet, this verse is saying, listen, you may feel weak, but stay strong. Okay. You may feel it. And again, we're not trying to bypass that feeling, right? But we know that can be a temporary state, right? And in that temporary state, I'm going to bring attention to it, but my strength is what's going to heal my weakness. But if I'm not recognizing my strength at all, and I'm just identifying myself as weak, then what is helping pull me from this weakness? So this is not about spiritually bypassing anything, but the strength that you have is what's actually pulling you from the weakness, right? It's actually the thing that's getting you strong. So we can acknowledge your strength, all right? Again, you may feel weak, but stay strong because your language is what's leading your body, all right? So this is the spiritual rescripturing. It's not about denial, it's actually directional faith. It's choosing to speak with alignment with your future, not with your fear. All right. And then neuroscience supports this because modern therapy and brain science has confirmed that language shape your identity. All right. Spiritual truth, even if you don't really feel it, rewires the brain in the nervous system, in the belief system. All right. So this activates neuroplasticity, in the process by which, or this activates neuroplasticity. And we know neuroplasticity is the process of your brain creating new thoughts and behaviors. All right. So when you say, I am healed, I am learning, and I am safe, you're not just encouraging yourself. Guess what? You're creating a new baseline for your nervous system. So Joel 3 and 10 is actually saying cognitive, is actually equaling cognitive behavior therapy um, and in spiritual, it's combining CBT and spiritual insight. All right. So here's your anchoring question. What script am I ready to retire, and what truth will I speak in its place? All right. Because when you've been saying things for years that were born in survival, guess what? That's not true. And your body has come to believe it. Your energy has responded to it, and your emotions are echoing it. But now you get to retire that script. Okay. You do get the opportunity to retire that script that came from trauma. All right. And start living from a truth, right? That comes from your calling. And I think it's important that we know that the life you have right now today is because of the words that you said on yesterday. The life that you will have a year from now is going to be predicated on the words that you tell yourself today. All right. And so if you want a different experience a year from now on 9/11 2026, then change your words. Because today, 9/11 2025, is a consequence of the words that you spoke in 2024 and before that. So if you want different relationships, if you want different finances, if you want different emotional state, start to speak differently over your life. All right, start to speak differently over your life. And here's my final thoughts. Again, the scripture, death and life is in the power of the tongue. Listen, words activate either the fear amygdala or your prefrontal cortex. So choose wisely. All right. And then the scripture, let the weak say, I'm strong. Again, speaking identity aligned truth actually reshapes the brain's beliefs, right? You have neuroplasticity on your side. So you're not just, when you're doing this, you're not just quoting affirmation or anything like that. You're actually helping to regulate your nervous system with spiritual authority, and you have the authority to do that. You have the authority to instruct your body, your mind, and what you want from it. All right. Okay, so we are wrapping up this week. All right, so this week wasn't just about a powerful standalone sessions, right? It's a part of this whole stories framework. All right, woven into this life model again, your love of self, your interactions with others, your focus and your energy. So on Monday we talked. So this week or this month is all about rewriting your story. All right, and I think it's just so important that we know that a part of rewriting your story is instructional. So in your mind, if you're saying, I just don't know what I want in my life, know that that is directing the lack of clarity that you currently have. So when somebody says, what do you want to do? And you're like, I don't know. Well, what do you want to change? I don't know. Then you're perpetuating the lack of clarity that's in your life. Oh, I will offer you this. If somebody says, what do you want from your life? You can say, I'm figuring out, or I'm open to life showing me, or that is what I'm learning now, right? Because when you say it from that perspective, then you're allowing life to move and figure things out for you. But when you just say, I don't know, then it's like you're closing the windows and the doors to only stay with what you've been, okay? Or to only stay with what has been happening. All right. So so again, this week we talked about transitioning. Um this week we're talking about transitioning your perspective. And I just think it's so important that we do that in our love of self, our interactions with others, our focus, and our emotions. All right. Next week, we're going to be talking about owning your identity. All right. Very important to rewriting your story. So again, seeing the lie, that was seeing the patterns, that was last week. This week is telling the truth, right? Really seeing your perspective. And then next week is really about owning your identity and rewriting your script and yielding these results. So as we move into the weekend, I want to give you how to put today's session into practice. All right. So I want you to identify one negative belief that you've been repeating. And then I want you to write down a stop it now affirmation, right? Remember, stopping now is we're stopping the past, we're getting present enough in the present, right? So that we can have a new future. And how do we do that? By the what now? So, what now? And if you don't know what now means, now in the Stopping Now method actually stands for what are your non-negotiables? What is the opportunity cost, and what will that win-win look like for you? All right. So write down a Stopping Now affirmation, and then number 3, say it out loud every morning, every evening, while placing your hand over your heart. When you place your hand over your heart, it's just really symbolic, right? It's saying, hey, this is where I want this energy to flow to and go through. All right. So it's not about being woo or anything like that, but it is about being engaged or present with your heart space and things like that. All right. Your journal prompt for today. If I speak to myself like I'm worthy, I would say what? If I spoke to myself like I'm worthy, I would just say, oh, girl, I love you. I love you. Okay. Affirmation. My body is safe, my words are true, and my identity is mine. Your intention for today, your intention statement today, I speak as if I believe I am already becoming. And then your bonus challenge, record your affirmation as a voice note if you want to challenge yourself and play it to yourself daily. I'm asking you, what phrase are you retiring? The challenge for you today is to speak the next three to speak the new truth 3 times aloud. And then I'm charging you, don't just hear it, feel it, believe it, and live it, and go shape your life. Listen, you are not what you survive. You are what you speak, you are what you believe, and you are what you embody. So let your words start to match your healing. And your body, guess what? It will listen. Your body will listen. All right. Here's your takeaway for today. Speak to your body like it's your friend. All right. Speak to your soul like it's still healing. And then speak to your life like it's worthy of being lived. All right. And this time, say something new and watch something change in your life, in your love of self, in your interactions with others, in your focus, and in your emotions. Listen, if today's session really resonated with you and you're walking away with some insight today, you already know what to do. Drop a fire in the chat and let's celebrate our growth together. I want you to remember that if you can shape it in your mind, you can have it in your life. I love you. I love you. I love you. And I will see you on Monday for that life lesson. Till later.